Perfect. All right. So we're all on. Hugo's on. Adrian's on. Mina, hello. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Please, and if you can, yeah, thanks for showing us your faces. Gives us some energy tonight, 6:30 p.m. to share with you guys what we got. First, let me start off by saying it's Thursday, 6:30 p.m., April the 6th. We're in April already, 2023. And tonight is a treat, right? Because we're going to talk about how to make money in today's real estate market, which I'm really passionate about. My name is Voltaire Lepe, CEO of Lepe Tendwell Properties, top 1% agent in San Diego County. And my co-host, Claudia Lopeli, she's here. So she's going to be the one answering all the questions in the chat. And from time to time, she's going to, interrupt us and just tell us what we got to talk about. But the team here is brought to you by Lepe Tendwell Properties and all the realtors at Lepe Tendwell. So whoever invited you, please do them a huge favor. And yes, you made it, Adrian. Yes, you're on this slide presentation. Please do them a huge favor because they really care for you. That's why they invited you to this workshop. Please go ahead and rate them on Yelp, on Google, on Facebook. Give them a 5-star review if you found today's information helpful. It really helps all of our future clients trusting us and saying, wow, these guys really provided value because they read those reviews. So if you take some value out of this today, please rate them. All right. So today we're going to be talking about ADUs for beginners, accessory dwelling units. That's what it stands for. And the reason why I'm so passionate about ADUs and is because they're the best way, in my opinion, to make money in real estate right now. Okay. The first way is primary residences. I love primary residences. It's a really easy way to make money, a good rate of return. And I could show you after we're all done here how time and time again, I've seen people make 50% return on investment with their primary residences over and over and over. I'm going to show you some math there. And then second way to make money in real estate is through accessory dwelling units, ADUs. So we're in a housing crisis here in California and in San Diego. We're negative, depending on which article you read, we're negative about 125,000 housing units in the county. What does that mean? If there was families, interested in going into a home, there's about 125,000 families. All right. So there goes the inventory. We're at 2,056 homes available for sale in San Diego County right now. That's not a lot of homes. There's 3.3 million people in San Diego County, guys. 3.3 million. There's only 2,056 homes available right now. And inventory is down 8%. Demand is up. So there's more buyers right now. Market time is 35 days. What market time means is from the first day that the seller puts a for sale sign, it takes 35 days to find a buyer, which means it's a hot seller's market. Anything under 90 days market time, that means it's a hot seller's market. So we're in a hot seller's market. There's only 12 people in San Diego County, 3.3 million people, guys, that are in distress, that are losing their homes. What does that show us? That means that's a very strong market. And then new builds, that shows you that it doesn't have the statistic, Claudia, on this one, but last year in 2022, there's 4,000 new housing units being built in San Diego County, guys. In a county of 3.3 million people, we need on average 12,000 to 15,000 new builds per year just to keep up with demand. Last year in 2022, there's 4,000. And then before COVID, there were 6,600 new units being built. So the reason why I'm explaining this to you is just to show you that we are in a housing crisis. Therefore, the state of California, city of San Diego made all these new rules that would allow you, property owners, to turn your garage into a livable, habitable unit, to turn your backyard into a 3 or 4 unit apartment complex or more. That way you can provide housing. So with that being said, Ugo, he's going to explain to us, and we could get rid of this, Claudia. We could just exit this screen and just, talk. Ugo is an architect. He's an expert with ADU laws and how they work and the processes and things of that nature. So what I want to share with you guys is, I'm a property owner myself, right? I have 49 rentals here in San Diego County. So I'm a large property owner. And right now I'm in different stages of building an additional 50 units throughout San Diego on properties I already own. In my backyards, I'm converting garages. I'm doing it because I feel that 10 years from now, guys, 2033, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to look at all the properties that I own, all the properties that I built, all the ADUs, and I'm going to have a big smile on my face because the housing crisis is going to deepen and get worse. And all those properties that I own are going to be worth a lot more. And the rents are going to continue to go up because of supply and demand. And I think it's going to be the best investment that I've ever made. So with that being said, we have Ugo. I'm going to have him unmute himself and kind of just give us an introduction of who he is, a little bit about himself. And then from there, we're going to go into some information that he's going to share with us. And by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to just throw it in the chat and now we can answer it. Okay, it's okay for you guys to ask questions during this. Make it a little bit of interactive. But Ugo, hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Going good, man. It's going good. Good to see you. So if you could just tell us about yourself a little bit and what you do.
Sure. Yeah. Can I share my screen, I guess?
Sure.
Or...
Yeah. Claudia's going to make you into a co-host and that way you can share your screen.
Yeah. All right, let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and just put up some slides and I'll go ahead and I'll start with an introduction as well. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, we can see it. Okay. ADU workshop.
Awesome. So yeah, no, so thank you, Voltaire, for the opportunity to come in and chat. Yeah, my name is Hugo Castañeda. I'm with HK Design and Consulting here in San Diego. We're actually out of Chula Vista, but we primarily focus within the city of San Diego of all the jurisdictions, and I'll kind of go into that. And we really specialize primarily in all residential. So whether it's single family, ADU, multifamily, there's a number of different types of housing that we can do, whether it's SROs, and we'll kind of, but today alone, we'll kind of just dive into the ADUs. And kind of like Voltaire said, I think we're definitely in an interesting time. At least for me, and maybe you guys have also been hearing the term housing crisis. And honestly, I've been having this conversation for over 10 years that we've been in this housing shortage. Probably about 5 years ago, we were trying to come up with different solutions. Probably about 3 years ago, we started hearing movement from the state level, local level. Probably a little further, because 3 years ago is when it kind of dropped. When Mayor Faulkner walked out of, was his term ended, boom, he just dropped the complete community. That's a completely different tool. But the city of San Diego, it definitely has so many tools on developing, providing housing. And even with all these tools, to be quite honest, kind of one of the things that Voltaire mentioned is the housing shortage. And we cannot, even today, we can't build quick enough. We can't permit quick enough. It's just crazy. Probably about 3 years ago in the industry, the term ADUs was kind of known as the gold rush, and so we're kind of in the midst of it. many people thought just because of the economy or where interest rates were going, it was going to kind of settle down. But this is really the time to start ramping up. I think it's going to continue to probably go into full steam ahead, and I'll kind of get into those reasons why. But yeah, no, that's just a little bit about me and what we do. We definitely have a number of ADU projects, and I'll probably kind of talk about them. But I think Voltaire kind of answered the question. So what is an ADU and or a JDU, and why are these beneficial to anyone? And Voltaire did kind of touch base on the beneficial reasons. And as we all know, and history kind of has told us, that real estate, regardless of the market, long-term wise, it projects upward, right? I mean, we look back 10 years ago, and I guarantee rents are not what they are today, or the cost of housing. And so accessory dwelling units, what I'd like to do is just kind of really dive into the basics of ADUs and what you can do with them. And again, what I'm discussing here is really specifically for the city of San Diego, because the regulations for the city of San Diego are completely different than every other jurisdiction. And this is what makes the city of San Diego unique. When the state of California released the Senate bill, the Assembly bill to allow ADUs throughout the state of California, their requirements were that single family homes can have a JDU and an ADU. However, the JDU had to be attached or within the primary, where the city of San Diego and the state allowed any jurisdiction to adopt their own regulation, which the city of San Diego did. However, in order to adopt a regulation, you actually had to meet or beat the state of California law, government code. And so that's exactly what the city of San Diego did. And so these are part of those rules based on the city of San Diego. So what is an ADU? An ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. And I think the key word here is really an accessory. So keep in mind the difference from a dwelling unit and accessory unit is that an ADU, as we know, at least today, based on today's code, it's an accessory to the primary structure. And in this case, whether it's a multifamily structure, a single family, or a primary. But what an ADU has to be, it's intended for long-term rental, or at least a minimum of 31 days. So that we've kind of been in the midst of all of the short-term rentals or Airbnbs. And so ADUs are not intended for that purpose. What can we do within a single family zone? We know that we can add one ADU within a single family zone. If you have a multifamily zone, you can add up to 2 ADUs. And some of the requirements as far as zoning requirements, if you're proposing a 1-story ADU that's 16 feet or less, it can actually, if you're building on the back end of your property, it can observe a 0-foot interior side and or rear setback. So that could be beneficial if you have tight space and you want to shove the building and utilize as much of the space as possible. So that's beneficial. However, we can also, and this is what makes the city of San Diego's ADU regulation unique, you can go 2 stories, you can go 3 stories. You're only restricted by the zone, where the state is different. So if you're building an ADU that's 2 stories or more, then you have to utilize the 4-foot interior and rear side setbacks. So that means your building has to be set inward from your property line 4 feet from the sides and or the rear. And so another key thing,
and just to just so I could add on to that, because I know when I first started learning about ADUs, guys, I was confused. I was like, oh, ADUs, that sounds crazy. Building sounds crazy. Do I even have enough space?
Right.
Where am I going to get the money? We're going to cover that.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to get overwhelmed with like some of the rules. But what Hugo was basically talking about was for that question in your mind where you're like, well, do I even have enough room? And basically what Hugo's alluding to is like, hey, you probably do, because the rules make it very lenient for you to be able to build and go up until the proper neighbor's property line. So anyhow, I just want to kind of just touch on that.
And what this next one is huge because, so keep in mind, back in the days, the city always had a form of an ADU, but it was different regulations and stuff. But parking was always an issue. Parking was always an issue back in the days. And so meaning, hey, maybe you could have built an ADU back in the day, which was called something else, but you had to provide parking. So what's cool about the ADU deal is you're not required to provide any parking. You can provide this accessory structure on the backside that is rentable, legally rentable unit, and you don't have to provide parking. So why is that a good thing? Because parking does eat up your property. It eats up space. Another good thing about ADUs is if your existing structure is not sprinklered, then the ADU is not required to be sprinklered. And so that's really the if on the backside. And that might not be on the top of your mind, but probably about 5 years ago, the state of California required all new single family, and commercial was already required, and multifamily was required to be sprinklered. But so the code for ADUs state if the existing primary is not sprinklered, you do not need to provide sprinkler system for the ADU. And that's huge because I'll get into some of the fees for ADUs that could impact. And so and so keep in mind, an ADU can be attached to, located within, or detached from an existing primary. And then also to keep in mind, as far as sizes, many people might think, oh, 1,200 square feet, 1,200 square feet, you want to maximize. However, it doesn't need to be as large as 1,200, but the code states it cannot be less than 150 square feet, and it cannot be greater than 1,200 square feet. So we've developed several 180 square foot studios, and I might have some of those examples. And another unique thing about ADUs is that
and by the way, 180 square feet for everybody to kind of understand. 180 square feet is like a large master bedroom. 18 feet by 10 feet. So that's
like
not
a one-car garage.
It's like a one-car garage, right? So you could do that. That's pretty insane. And then the other thing too, and the reason why Hugo's talking about fire sprinklers and things like that is because the city is making it very easy for you guys to make money here and to provide housing. Like they're making it. Yeah.
That goes towards the fees, right? So that's less cost to the homeowner, whether it's having to provide that additional service of hiring a sprinkler company to do that, and/or fire sprinklers produce it increases water capacity, so potentially having to upgrade a water meter, which can be costly as well. So those are beneficial for whether you're an investor, developer, or just a homeowner wanting to add an ADU, and that's a form of a cost savings, potential cost savings on your end, or an investor. And also keep in mind, ADUs, if you're proposing an ADU on a given property, that property is not required to be owner occupied. And so the other term is JDU. And so JDU is a junior accessory dwelling unit. So a lot of the same requirements apply to an ADU that apply to a JDU. JDUs are unique specifically in the city of San Diego because it's completely different than the state. And so rents are still the same. And a JDU is only allowed within a single family zone. So if you have a commercial zone, a JDU is not allowed in that zone. But if you have a single family zone property, that you can utilize, or you can propose a JDU. If you've already utilized the ADU, then you can also include a JDU. And I'll show some examples of what we've done with JDUs. So JDUs can also setbacks, same thing, 2 stories, 1 story, no parking, same as the fire sprinklers. But what makes the JDU unique in the city of San Diego is that it differs from the state. A JDU, in regards to the state law, meaning any jurisdiction outside the city of San Diego, the JADU has to be attached to or located within the primary. That is the only location you could provide a JADU. However, if you're developing in the city of San Diego, the JADU can be detached from the primary. However, it has to be associated with some detached accessory structure. So you can develop an ADU and a JDU detached from the primary as a small duplex in the back, which if that's your home, that could be pretty cool. That way you have your privacy from any future tenants. And so the catch, and actually there's a typo there. So the JDU in size, similar to the ADU, it cannot be less than 150, but it cannot be greater than 500 square feet. So that's one caveat. And then the other one is, as a JDU, it must be owner occupied. So that's really the only caveat or
Right.
downfall if you're looking at it from an investment.
So real quick, going back to this ADU, junior ADU thing, just so everybody kind of gets it very clear. Other names for it that you've probably heard is mother-in-law suite, a granny flat, studio apartment. It all basically means the same thing, which is the photos here that he's showing you.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, there's so many terms, right? Casita, granny flat, all of those. And yeah, so this photo here, I just kind of wanted to provide a sample of, just to get a feel for what does it mean to have an ADU or a JDU within an existing structure or a primary residence attached to or detached from. So this kind of, not necessarily that you'd be converting your attic or basement, but you can, somewhere within an existing structure, you could convert that space. Like, for example, let's say you have a 4-bedroom home and you want to all you need is 2 bedrooms, and you want to redesign, not necessarily fully redesign, but you want to take one of the bedrooms and maybe the bathroom and convert that into an ADU or a JDU with its own individual access. And you can do that, permit it, and legally rent it. And that's kind of an option of within, see it, an addition to the primary structure. And then the last one, it's just a new ground up detached structure from the existing structure.
So let me look at that photo again. Just so some other terms, guys, that you might have heard, like the top photo, where it shows the main house in the middle, the junior ADU at the bottom in the basement, and then in the attic, an ADU. And by the way, this house reminds me of a house in Golden Hill, or maybe a old house like in National City. I've seen some of these. So some people might refer that to this property, the one at the top, like a triplex, because there's 3 units, there's 3 families living in there. The one in the middle, someone might, refer to like something like a duplex. Okay. Yeah. And then the one at the bottom, in real estate terminology, you might have heard the word 2-on-1, or some other people call it a duplex, right? Where it's 2 separate houses on one lot. So cool. I just want to throw some different terminology that you might be familiar with.
I have a question. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, but from these 3 pictures, which one are like the cost of the additional, does it vary a lot if it's, from like separate to just adding it?
Like which one's the cheapest one to do and which is the most expensive?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hugo.
Yeah, and I'll kind of dive in. I have some example projects that we're working on, and I to answer the question, the cheapest is definitely converting an existing structure. So the example that I'll be showing, it's an existing detached garage structure from the primary. It's a single family zone with a detached garage, because the structure is already there, right? So as part of the conversion, the big ticket items is really going to be utilities, providing utilities, whether it's water, gas, and electric to that space. But as far as the structure, you already have the bones and everything there, so it could be looked at as an interior remodel, and so you're not having to buy concrete, you're not having to trench and do that to that extent, but
You don't need
there's
a new
still,
roof,
yeah, so
you know,
there's
new foundation. So the first one at the top is the cheapest, right?
yeah, that would definitely be the cheapest, and then probably the additions could get a little tricky, and it only because it could be it's a combination. It's really it depends on the square footage, but it could be tricky in the sense, like for example, that number 2. Let's say that's an existing primary, and it also had windows along that side, right? So now you had bedrooms maybe facing that window. So now maybe, so long as you're avoiding having to redesign that interior part of that existing primary, then it shouldn't be too bad. But if you're having to redesign it based on, whoa, we're having to close a window, and as I'm talking, I'm remembering I'm remembering a project we did an addition like that of an ADU. Luckily, that wall that we attached to, it didn't have any windows, so that was perfect. That was a perfect example of saving and not having to redesign. So that would probably be the next best option, is if it's attached to, but even if it's attached, it's still a new construction because it's going to have foundation, new framing, new roof, everything, for the exception of that fourth wall, right? Maybe it's a matter of developing 4 exterior walls, 1, 2, I mean 3 exterior walls and not a fourth one. So that there could potentially be some cost savings on that option as well, versus the last detached option.
Cool.
Any other questions?
So good. So far, no questions from the chat. But I did
Awesome.
drop the links if anybody wants to save our pages to leave us a review for our workshops. We would appreciate it.
Awesome. So what are the and for, if you've never done this, as far as developed or permitted anything, just what are the requirements to construct an ADU and or a JDU? So regardless of option, right, whether you're doing an interior remodel, if it's within an addition or a new ground up, all 3 options are going to require a building permit, and that's because, I mean, there's definitely renovation happening, but more importantly, you're adding an occupancy, you're adding you're changing what's currently there as far as the use. You're adding an additional rentable unit. So these are the bare minimum submittal requirements, to just kind of keep in mind that you'll need when submitting to the city or county. In this case, we're just kind of focusing on the city of San Diego, but you're definitely going to need architectural plans, structural plans, calcs, kind of just depending on the project. Title 24, that's a requirement for the state of California. Truss calcs if you are proposing trusses. And then some of the common city forms that will be required up front is the contact information, who's the owner, who's the designer, architect, structural engineer, etc. Water meter data card. So this is critical, because kind of what I was saying before in regards to the fire sprinkler. And if you have an existing structure, what the water meter data card does is it takes, we'd have to provide all the existing fixture counts. So this is all the water fixture counts of the existing home and the proposed fixture counts. And so what that does is there's a department in the city that runs through those calcs and determines what size of water meter is accurate in capacity for all of those fixtures. So depending on how many fixtures you're proposing, it could require a water meter upgrade. So those are, and that could be a little costly. So that's the reason for that. And then a stormwater application checklist. So those would be the minimum requirements.
Yeah. So my comment on this is, guys, don't run away. Don't be afraid, right? Someone like Google takes care of all this for you. So you just tell them, hey, I want to see what I could do in my backyard. and my garage, can I convert it to an ADU? From there, it's Ugo's job to tell you, yes, you can. This is what you could do. You could do it 2 ADUs and 1 junior ADU.
Yeah.
And it's his job, you know, if you want to move forward and build something, convert something, then at that point, he would go ahead and take care of all these things with the city and, you know, basically do everything for you as far as permitting. So you don't have to, you know, be afraid.
Yeah, and if any questions, I mean, feel free to reach out. But typically, the way we operate in regards to new projects, we have our consultants that we work with. We would definitely, like, if someone contacted us, hey, this is what we'd like to do. We'd ask for, okay, what's your design? What's your criteria? If you want X amount of ADUs, what size of bedrooms? Then we'd look and make sure that that's adequate. We'd reach out to our consultants, whether it's structural, Title 24 guys. We'll package the deal, provide a proposal. As part of our proposal, it would include all of these requirements. We would take care of the city forms, and our goal is we would generate all the package, submit it to the city, coordinate that with the city, and then all the city fees would fall back to the owner. And then once everything is approved through the city, then we'd hand over the permit to the owner and or the contractor. And so in regards to city fees, so these are some of the things to expect. And as we know, and kind of one of the things that I kind of started with is we can't build quick enough and projects are not being reviewed quick enough. And so the city of San Diego is definitely unique in the sense that during the COVID times, they went paperless. And so they adopted a new system that everything is submitted online. And so really allowed them to shut down during the COVID times, which was a state mandate as well. But even till today, they are still operating without it being open to the public like it was prior to COVID. But because of their new system, and that's just one of the reasons, but now it allows us from the public to submit 24/7, 7 days a week, rather than back in the days we had to submit during working business work hours. And then if you didn't get your project submitted, then you had to come back the following day. So because of that, we're hearing that the city is they have a large queue that's just loading up day to day over the weekend. So they're definitely backlogged. So review process does take some time, but the benefit of the ADUs, they're smaller type projects that tend to move a lot quicker than your larger type projects. So right here, just city fee breakdown. So this yellow, this item here in the yellow, so this is typically what you're looking at paying as far as the review fee. And then this fee here is what they call the inspection fee. So that's what's going to be at the tail end once you get the permit. But as far as review fees, it's broken down based on square footage. So these are kind of the square footage breakdowns. So if your project, for example, let's just say we're building a 500 square foot ADU, this would be your initial ticket item and review fee. And there's some miscellaneous fees that are probably add up to $500. So you're probably looking at about $2,000 to get the project started. And then this would be your inspection. They're calling the inspection fee, but that invoice is provided at the back end. So things to also expect during the issuance process. So that's the back end of the project. So every project's going to trigger some form of a water and sewer fee. So that's based on added fixtures that you're adding to the project. If your project is less than if it's less than 500 square feet, so if you're proposing a 499 square foot ADU, you're exempt from school fees. The minute you propose 500 plus, school fees apply. And then development impact fees. This is unique. So the first ADU or JDU is exempt from impact fees. And I can dive into this. This right here makes me go crazy. Because development impact fees is huge. If you are experienced and have been around with projects, this is what the big ticket item on a permit is. So depending on the community, the city of San Diego is broken up into different communities. Development impact fees vary from community to community, and those fees can be anywhere from 5,000 to 12,000 per unit. Now, keep in mind, an ADU is not considered a dwelling unit, it's an accessory dwelling unit. So development impact fees are not feed up on ADUs the way they're feed up on a dwelling unit. So that's a good thing. And when it comes to ADUs, if you're building multiple ADUs, so long as you're less than 750 square feet, you're exempt 100% from development impact fees. So that's huge, huge.
Can you repeat that again? As long as they're under 750, they're exempt from
Yeah.
development impact fees?
So let me give you this example, and I'll provide real numbers because we just permitted a project in North Park. We just permitted a 10-unit project in North Park. It wasn't an ADU project. This was a dwelling unit project. So it's like a multifamily housing project. It was 10 units, and the units consisted of, in size, there were 1 bedrooms and studios that varied between 300 and 400 square feet. And so because those are dwelling units, the development impact fees were triggered. And in North Park, the development impact fees there are 7,500 a unit. And so times 10, the development impact fee just for that project was $75,000. That's not even including your water sewer fee, that's not including your school fees, that's not including this permit fee, just the development impact fees. Now, if that project was an actual ADU project and exactly the same, 10 and the same size, it would have been 100% exempt, 0 development impact fees versus 75,000.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm taking notes because
That's crazy.
there's a lot of people that don't know this. So guys, this just goes back to what I said at the beginning. The city of San Diego, state of California, they're like making it super easy on you guys to build these ADUs. They're even waiving, like in that example, the development impact fees for you to provide housing to someone. And that's why there's a huge opportunity that people don't know. Like people don't know that the city's doing all these things for you to convert your garage into something, or for you to build a casita on the back or whatever. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
And kind of to add on this, so we just designed a larger ADU project, and we originally had, there were 2-bedroom units that they were about 780 square feet, and then when I told the owner this, we revised those units down to 748 square feet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge, because people don't know, and they build an 800 square foot casita.
Yeah.
Where if you just modified it to 748 square feet, then all of a sudden it's like, bam, you're saving so much money. But
yeah.
Now, did you say that the first ADU is exempt from?
Yeah, so the first ADU is exempt. So like in this case, if we're talking, hey, I'm just going to add an ADU, yeah, that's exempt. But and I'll get into it at the tail end of it, more for if you guys are looking at larger ADU projects, because that's what's unique about the city of San Diego, that they've adopted their own regulation, and that's where it's different, big time different from the state, that allows us to add bonuses through the affordable option. So the minute you start adding more, that's where that catch with the div fees trigger, right? The development impact fees. If you're not aware of it and you're developing those additional units greater than 750, boom, they're going to get you. So that's where you want to revise those square footages.
Cool, thank you.
So this is an example of one of the projects that we actually have in the city right now, and this is kind of going back to the question of cost. So this is a homeowner, and as I mentioned before, we have a variety of clients, ranging from land developers, investors, and even what I call mom and pop, or just your primary owner wanting to add something in the backyard. And this happens to be one of them. This is his first project, and I thought this was amazing because again, the bones of the structure is there. Aside from it's totally up to the owner if he wants to refinish the outside, as in paint and touch up. But for the most part, everything's there. So this is an existing 4 one-car garage with an RV garage right down the center. And we're going to convert this detached structure into an ADU and a JDU. So these are some photos of what that structure looks like.
Mm.
And then here's the plans. And what makes this pretty cool is, so it has, he lives in the primary. It's a single family zone property with this, and then had the garage off the alley. So what we're proposing to do is, I'll kind of just zoom right into the plans. So kind of just show you a layout of what we did here. So pretty much the perimeter stayed the same, right? This is really the building, but we try to salvage as much of the walls here, and we just did all this interior infill, creating, so you kind of walk in through this little common entry area, and you walk into the larger ADU, about 1,070 square feet. So you have a kitchen area, dining area, a larger living room, and this is that RV area, so it has a larger ceiling height. So right over the kitchen, we're dropping a low ceiling, and then we're gonna put like this little mezzanine area up over the kitchen, and then the living room with the high ceiling, and then these three smaller bedrooms. So this will be a rental unit for him. And then this is that smaller JDU here. It's about 450 square feet. You have a living area with the kitchen here, one bathroom, a 1-bedroom bath unit.
Cool. So basically, this is 2 units that you built here. The left side is the ADU, 1,000 plus square feet, and then the right side is a junior ADU, 446 square feet. So just a curiosity. So this left one, is that the one that's going to be exempt, that you're using that exempt status? The first ADU is exempt?
Yeah,
And-
so in this case, both of them actually would be exempt
Mhm.
from the DIB fees.
Right, because the one on the left, because it's the first one, and then the one on the right, because it's smaller than 750 square feet.
Right.
Ah, okay. So that's 2 units. So you converted that entire thing, the photo that you showed us earlier, you're going to convert it into 2 dwelling units, basically. One
Yeah.
ADU and a junior ADU. Got it.
So you can
Cool.
kind of see here you can see the outline of the building here, and we're kind of infilling it, adding some windows. And this is off the alley, kind of facing that. Then
Cool.
just some other
Mhm. Cool. And then Mina had a question. She's
Mhm.
asking if do you visit the property to review options available?
Yeah, so I think so typically the way I like to do it is, I like to start off with a phone conversation with the owner, like, hey, let's just chat it out. Let me know what you'd like to do. At that point, we're kind of scrubbing the property. What's the zone? What can we do? And kind of just looking at it from a mapping perspective, meaning whether it's Google Map or Google Earth, get a feel for space. Every property is different. Here in San Diego, we live in a very hilly mountain area, so properties tend to have a slope. Some are flat. Those things may impact where and how we develop a property. So once I get a feel for the scope from the owner, yeah, we will definitely arrange a site visit. As part of any project, even like this one, we definitely have to go out there and do what we call an as-built, and that's gather the existing condition of the building. And then if there's no topo involved, we'll actually go and do our takeoffs and do the measurements to locate the existing structure within that property. And then what I refer to, let's get the existing condition on paper. Once we have it on our programs, then we can start playing with space and layouts and stuff like that.
Cool. Thank you.
So this property, this is This is probably one of our first, what we called the actual ADU and JDU under the regulation. And when we took on this project, this one was interesting because we knew that the state required the JDU to be attached. So this was the first time we tested, hey, let's see if it works, right? If the city of San Diego is going to say, yeah, you can detach the JDU from the primary. And so this is actually a good example. These were some young guys, college students. They both teamed up and purchased this property. It's in Claremont Mesa, and they both lived here, and they had a bunch of roommates, and they all roommated up in here, and they wanted to do this project for the same reason everyone or anyone is wanting to add ADUs. And so we proposed this 2-story ADU on the ground floor, 1,200 square feet, and a JDU on the upper floor. And I'll kind of show you what those look like in plan. So, and I did walk the project, and we walked it before, after. I didn't include any construction photos or finished photos, but the properties, the building actually turned out pretty big now in comparison to the style of ADUs that we're doing now. This is huge. I mean, you have a 2-bedroom, you have almost this master suite. I mean, looking at this now with the different lens, I'm almost thinking like, man, I can literally make this master suite into an ADU by itself and have a 2-bedroom ADU over here. But yeah, no, this turned out really good. I mean, a decent living room. You have a dining and kitchen. And then this guy, we created a door here to have its own private space outside. And then there's an outdoor staircase here that leads up to the JDU. Yeah. We provided this large balcony here for some private space for the JDU. And then the JDU, this was roughly 500 square feet. That's a 1-bedroom unit. So even while we're designing these, we definitely, especially if you're going to be if you're going to reside on the premise, we definitely like to look at it from a privacy perspective as well, because I know that's huge for any owner, to have your private space and that separation from future tenants.
Sure. So by the way, we're running up on time. So we have some questions, and then if you want to show us one last thing, that whatever you want to show us, we could touch into that. Hopefully not too time consuming, because we got to respect everyone's time. I need to show you guys something too, but there's a question, 2 questions. Sure. Number 1, do you have a website?
Yeah, no, we don't have a website.
Okay, so he's old school, no website, guys, but you guys could talk to him. We'll put his phone number in the, Claudio will put his phone number in the chat, his info. And then, do you charge to look at a property or to talk about a property? And
if you're a first time, so I do have clients. If you're first time, if you're new and you're interested, feel free to give me a call. I'll have a conversation with you. As we move forward, then if I'll know from that conversation if it's a go or a no go. I'll get a vibe, a feel for it. But yeah, no, if you have any, if you're curious and have any questions, feel free to call me.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. And so basically you just call, you get a good feel, and then, from there he'll tell you whether you could do it or not, and if he wants to take you on as a client. All right. What's the last thing you're showing us here?
So this is a project there in Point Loma, and it's also single family. And they wanted to add this little guest house on the backside, and so this was a nice little project. They wanted this little Spanish style little house, and then that there's the end product there, and you can kind of see the bay right there in Point Loma, and we're standing actually in the balcony of the primary. So this is one of the.
And I'm assuming something like that, they probably like Airbnb, even though maybe the regulations don't allow, but that looks like an Airbnb to me.
Yeah, and I think I'm pretty sure that's what he ended up doing, especially there in the beach and right off the water.
Right. Okay, cool. All right. So do you have any recommendations for pros doing this work in North County, Oceanside? So do you work up there too?
Actually, no, all of our projects right now, we're really trying to stay away from outside jurisdictions. All of our work at the moment is strictly within the city of San Diego, and specifically because we just understand their regulations. We strongly believe they are extremely beneficial, albeit any other jurisdiction, with meaning with what we can do. They're extremely flexible. So for that reason, we truly stay within the city of San Diego, and requirements vary from jurisdiction to
Right.
jurisdiction. So that's where it gets a little tricky as well. And
Yeah, I think there's like 26 different cities in the county of San Diego, so everyone probably has different jurisdictions. So
Yeah.
Ugo's just specifically city of San Diego. If you guys have a need for City of National City, Imperial Beach, Chula Vista, reach out to us. Claudia, you guys can message her right now, and then we will introduce you to someone who does other cities as well. That's a great question. And someone's asking is, how much is something like this? And I think they're referring to La Casita in Point Loma. Maybe if you could just break down ballpark how much, let's say your fee for something like that is, and then how much the total cost to build, including the cities, or something
yeah,
like that.
so
Ballpark it.
yeah, it's gonna be really tough. So price definitely for sure is gonna vary, right? City of San Diego is unique in what I mentioned. The hills or every property is different, but typically just to for us to have an idea per unit or per ADU, we're looking at between 5 to 6 thousand. As this is in what we call a soft cost on the design side. City fees can range anywhere from like 10,000 and up, and that really just depends on how aggressive an owner is going to get. And as far as, because keep in mind, you got water sewer fees, you have school fees, you have city fees. So all of those fees combined is what we refer to as the permit fees. And then construction. So construction is unique because it varies, meaning you're going to get prices across the board that could potentially vary anywhere from 250 a square feet to maybe 350 a square feet. So as what I would definitely recommend is shop around when you do these type of projects. Maybe you're familiar with the industry, maybe you're not, but as a homeowner, you have the option to hire a GC, or you have the option to permit a project as owner builder and sub out those services. And that option may save you costs as getting rid of the middleman, but or maybe it's worth the cost, so that way you're just like, here, get it done. So those are probably rough numbers.
Boom, perfect. Yeah, and I agree with that. And we'll talk about financing next. So real quick, guys, I'm going to share my screen, and okay, here we go. So real quick, I just want to show you guys return on investment. Okay. So earlier I said I would teach you about why primary residence is like probably the best investment, right? The stock market averages 11% over the last 50 years, right? S&P 500 over the last 50 years averages 11% return, which is great. A lot of investors will trip over themselves to try to earn a 10% return or higher. So a house, let's say you buy a house in San Diego for 500,000, 5 years pass. Now the new value of that house after 5 years is 550, right? So I'm not reaching, I'm not crazy for thinking that, right? So the value just went up, what, $50,000. So let's call that the profit. So how do we figure out the profit on a primary residence if this is the scenario? Okay, you bought it for 500, it went up to 550. It's simple, right? So this is what we do. Let's take this example, by the way. You put $100,000 down payment to buy this property. Okay, so your investment is 100,000 and your profit is 50. This is exactly how you figure it out. You do 50,000, your profit divided by your down payment, 100 grand. That gives you this 0.5. That's 50% return. So you just made 50% return while you're living in the house. That's a great return on investment. Okay, return on investment. ADUs. Somebody asked, how much does it cost? I'll give you an example. A garage conversion, right? You could probably get it done for about $130,000 all in, right? And the cool part is, once you build it, minimum from what I've seen, now the value of that garage turned into an ADU now is worth $250,000. Okay, it cost you $130,000 to build. Now the new value of that is $250,000. So you just made a profit of how much? $120,000. So now let's look at the numbers. If you made $120,000 profit, you divide that by what it cost you, $130,000. That's a 92% return on investment. So the ROI right here, return on investment, I'm going to go ahead and type in 92%. So are you going to make 92% in the stock market? Probably not. Are you going to make 92% Bitcoin? Probably not. Are you going to make 92%, any other way? It's tough. This is why I love real estate, right? Primary residence, if you put 20% down. By the way, if you put less down payment, let's go, you buy your primary residence with 3% down, conventional, first time buyer program, same profit. Now your rate of return jumps up to 333%. You can't get that anywhere else unless your primary residence. So long story short, guys, this is what a garage conversion ADU looks like. Somebody asked the question, how much does it cost? Per square foot, just like Google said, $250, right? So my garage conversion that I did cost me about $100K. It was 400 square feet. So $100,000 divided by $400 by 400 square feet, that's $250 a square foot. If you build ground up in your backyard, that little casita, like the Point Loma one that he just showed us, that's going to be more expensive. It's going to be like maybe $350 a square foot. You got to check with your general contractor. Somebody asked, how is financing handled? Great question. And that's what I'm starting to see more of. I'm starting to see more programs to finance stuff like this. For the time being, there's a couple ways to finance this thing. Number one, your own cash, which is hard. Number two, you could put out a home equity line of credit. So you need equity in your home. The bank loans you money against your home. So you have your first loan, and then you have your home equity line of credit right behind it. And then you just use that equity line of credit to pay for your garage conversion or your casita. The third way, cash out refinance, which if you have a really good interest rate, I wouldn't recommend that one, but if it gets you a 92% return on investment, go ahead and do it. And then the fourth way that I'm seeing some of these programs come out, I'm starting to see programs specifically for like ADUs, but the interest rate is going to be a lot higher. The interest rate is going to be like 10 to 12%. But still, even if you do that, you're still going to make money. I would just say, try to figure it out. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to your favorite Lepe Tendwell real estate agent, and then we'll kind of introduce you to some people that are financing these things. It's 7:30 on the dot. What other questions you guys have before we call this meeting? All right. So the last thing is, if you guys learned something today, if you guys got some value from what Hugo presented, you got some value from, my return on investment and how to make money, because this is what it's about. We're here to create wealth. We're here to help ourselves. And then at the same time, help our communities. If we're building housing, guys, and we're renting it to someone who works at the grocery store down the street for $1,800, a little casita, right, that we converted into an ADU, that's helping the community. That's giving them brand new housing. They're happy, they're proud to be in like a brand new kitchen, brand new bathroom, brand new floors. That's pretty cool for that person. In return, they're showing their love and appreciation to you by paying you $1,800 a month or if you're in a really nice area, $2,500 a month, right? So this is what it's all about. And in the process, we're creating wealth for ourselves and for our future family. So if you got something out of this today, please go online and give a 5-star review to your favorite Lepe Tendwell real estate agent who invited you here, and to Lepe Tendwell, the brokerage. And Hugo, I would say him too, but it doesn't sound like he got one of those either, because he doesn't even have a website. So you're
And
on
then
mute.
we
You're
have-
on mute, Hugo.
Actually, I'm on Instagram. If anyone, they can, you can reach out to me on.
What's your
Instagram.
IG handle? What's your IG handle? You could drop it in there. Claudia, you're saying something?
Oh yeah, I was gonna invite everyone to how to avoid buying a problem home. It's happening April 18th, 6:30 via Zoom as well. And we'll have a home inspector that we've used for many years. Also a great workshop to learn about homes and how they're construction. and
Yeah, and by the way, I forgot to mention that. If you want to be invited, we have about 25 of these workshops a year, different topics, ADUs, home therapy, send that home to therapy. Yeah, exactly. We have ADUs, we have how to play Monopoly in real life, where I show you how I ended up with 49 units here in San Diego. We have a bunch of different topics. So if you want to be invited to that, just email Claudia your email and information, and we'll add you to that list. That way you jump on those Zooms, and she's going to add the Eventbrite link. So you could add yourself to our Eventbrite page. So every time we have a new workshop, you get alerted. And Hugo, did you find your, there we go. All right, here we go. Instagram, hk.design.and.consult. Is that your Instagram? Hey, we got to find you a better handle, bro. All right, cool. Everybody take a screenshot of that. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining. I hope you guys build some wealth and create some housing for your community. And reach out to Hugo with any questions. We appreciate y'all. Peace.
Bye,
Thanks a lot,
guys.
Hugo,
Good
for jumping
night.
on. All right, good
Thank
night.
you, Go.
All right, cool. We'll see each other.
Do I end it?
I believe so. I think you can stop the
Yeah, recording.
recording, and all right.